Welcome, everyone, to the Firing the Man podcast. On today's episode, we take a look at some of the current events happening in the e-commerce world. 2020 has been a whirlwind of a year for e-commerce. Stay tuned to find out why and what is changing on the horizon for e-commerce. Ken, what's going on?
David, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, back in the studio. What's going on?
Yes, absolutely. And these news update podcasts, we're getting really good feedback from the audience that they like these. So I'm happy to bring more news and just bring the energy and deliver.
For sure. What do we got first?
Right out of the gate, this is an article that we got off a web retailer, and it's probably the largest one of the show. Like, it's definitely dominates e-commerce, and it's likely one of the largest headlines of the year. The details: the U.S. House of Representatives released a 451-page report into the competitive practices of Facebook, Google, Amazon, and Apple. And in the podcast notes and on the website, we have a link to the full report. So if you have nothing to do when you're drinking your coffee, go download that and read it. But here's the meat and potatoes. This is the good stuff here. Amazon, they're not pulling any punches. Every solution you can imagine to restore competition is on the table. This is from Congress. According to the report, Amazon is engaged in just about every sin you can imagine. The list includes using market power to push its own products, predatory pricing to eliminate competitors, bullying of third-party sellers. No. Atrocious levels of seller support. I like that one. Ever-increasing fees, using seller data to source competing products, and much, much more. Amazon says the report stops just short of stealing candy from infants. What are your thoughts, David?
You know, when I read this, I just took a deep breath because I have experienced every single one of these issues. I have had major issues with seller support. I've had my fees increase every year that I've been selling on Amazon. I've had Amazon Basics enter into the space that I'm selling. And I kind of feel like Amazon is like a cool older brother that takes you cool places and lets you have cool experiences, but also beats the shit out of you every so often. And I'm torn because Amazon's been great for my business, but boy, are they hard to deal with sometimes. And so that's kind of my big brother analogy. And so it's good to see this coming out. And one reason is because third-party sellers generally are a lot of solopreneurs. And so it's good to see people getting together and taking on this gargantuan of a company and saying, hey, we feel like we're being treated unfairly. So it's good to see this in the news. It's good to see this going in front of Congress.
I definitely agree. And, if you've been selling on the Amazon platform for a few years, you've likely experienced most of them, if not all of the items we discussed. But yeah, it's about time. I mean, they have evidence. We're not going to cast judgment. It's not we're just here to discuss the news. But Congress has evidence of all of this happening. It's not hearsay anymore. They've brought evidence. They've said, hey, we caught you doing this. And now, for me, kind of speculating, it just, I guess, depends on maybe what government we have in the future of how they're going to respond and what's going to happen. We don't know. They're talking about maybe splitting into two marketplaces, having Amazon sell their own stuff in one marketplace and third party sellers in another. There's a lot of things they can do. So it'll be interesting to see. But I'm with you. I'm glad to see this happening. It's about time. Somebody beat up the bully, the big brother, right?
Exactly. And you know what? I think one ancillary benefit of this is as you see companies like Walmart increasing their e-commerce presence, this is going to reinforce that, hey, you need to treat third-party sellers fairly. And if you don't, this is what can happen. And so I'm excited to see the free markets play out over the next couple years. And I'm glad to see this in the news. Regardless of if it brings out any change, I think just calling this to everyone's attention is going to benefit us. Amazon responded in their blog to this, that fringe notions on antitrust would destroy small businesses and hurt consumers. So stay tuned for more information on this. We also pulled up a New York Times article that covered this story. And they noted that there's 2.3 million third-party sellers that do business on Amazon's marketplace worldwide, and 37% of these people rely on Amazon as their sole source of income. And so this is, you talk about multiplicity of a dollar. $1 goes into your pocket and then it gets spent 7 times over. There's a lot of people that rely on Amazon, and when your account gets shut down, there are families that rely on Amazon and Amazon fees to put food on their table for their families. And so good to see this being called out, especially by a reputable news source like the New York Times.
Yeah, absolutely. Those numbers are pretty staggering, and that's something that I know you and I are working on, is to, that 37% of third-party sellers solely rely on Amazon. And, when that happens, they have leverage over you, right? So it's our job as a third-party seller to decrease that number and to not rely as heavily on Amazon. So, yeah, that's great. Moving along, another massive announcement, Prime Day 2020. Today we're taping this. I got to look at my watch here. It is October 15th. So Prime Day was October 13th and 14th, a 2-day event this year in 2020, year of the pandemic. Everything's crazy. Everything's different. So was it a success? Was it a last-ditch effort? What do you think, David?
I'm going to speak to this as a seller and a consumer. As a seller, I saw probably a 15% uptick in sales. It wasn't huge. Now, I didn't run any huge promotions. I really didn't do a lot to prep for Prime Day. And so that I saw a little bit of uptick, but it wasn't huge. As a consumer, had I not been an Amazon seller, I don't think I would have known that it was Prime Day. And you think like Black Friday, that's the day after Thanksgiving, and the Cyber Monday. There's something about Thanksgiving that gets people in the mode of shopping. And Prime Day, it kind of happens at a random time on a Monday and Tuesday. And so as a consumer, I didn't buy anything because it was Prime Day. In fact, I didn't even get on and see if there were any Prime Day specials. And so I think Amazon could do a better job of kind of hyping this up. Or Prime Day needs to happen, several consecutive years in a row for people to know, hey, it's Prime Day, and for it to resonate like a Black Friday does in commercial brick and mortar retail.
Yeah. I agree. And as a seller, one of my brands had maybe a 15-20% increase, and the other brand had about it doubled in sales for those days. So a great day. And I've asked around in some of my masterminds and other groups, and it was kind of mixed results. Some people sold less, some people 15-20% more. I heard a one or two that sold 10x, but it wasn't across the board. It was very erratic. And I'm with you. I buy a lot of stuff on Amazon, and had I not been a third-party seller, the only other place that I saw an ad was a few days ago. I went to find a show that someone recommended to me, and I couldn't find it on Netflix, so I went to my Amazon Prime account, and I saw an ad in there for Prime Day. That's it. Like that's the only place I've seen it. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe people, obviously, a lot of people are struggling this year. They don't have the amount of money that they usually do. So maybe, I don't know if it almost seems like Amazon just tried to jackhammer this in there just to get it in there this year.
Definitely. Our next news story relates to a new feed on the Seller Central mobile app. It's called the News Feed, and I probably am on the Seller Central app way too much. I like to jump on there periodically throughout the day, get a little dopamine hit, see how my sales are doing, and hopefully they're doing well. That's when the dopamine hit comes. And anyway, but I opened it up the other day. I saw a newsfeed app, and I at first was a little alarmed because usually when I see like a notification at the bottom, it's because one of my listings was suspended or there's some issue with my account, and that was not the case. And I was flipping through here, and there's a lot of great information. And one thing I like about this is it comes straight from the source. And so, you can get on YouTube, you can listen to podcasts like this, but, the news feed is coming straight from the horse's mouth. And I like that. What's been your experience with it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd like to go back a little bit, and I think it kind of ties into our first story where Congress is kind of like got their foot on Amazon's neck, right? So I've seen a lot of stuff that Amazon is doing positively for third-party sellers. They had I can't remember what they called it, but they had like this summit, this third-party seller summit or something like that, like last month. I didn't attend it, but I noticed it and I was like, that's new. They've never done anything like that. And then like you, I checked my Amazon Seller Central app like last week or the week prior, and I noticed that what's this news? So I think it's a great thing, and they're just communicating better. Maybe it's the same stuff. They're just doing it in a different way. Maybe they're reaching. They're trying, right? And I think it's a great thing. So we have a couple of the news stories from the feed over the last few weeks. David, what's the first one?
First, 2020 extended holiday returns policy. So this is any order shipped between October 1st and December 31st is returnable until January 31st. Now, my key takeaways here are, this is enhancing the customer experience from the standpoint of they have a longer period of time to return their items. From a seller standpoint, it's kind of annoying. I mean, how many things do you need 30 days to figure out whether you want to return it or not? And I don't know if you've had this, but I have a wearable product that I sell, and I've had people that I am positive wear it for 30 days and then they return it. And I cannot stand that. And so, it's kind of a double-edged sword here. And all the while, if an item is sitting on somebody's shelf at home, it's producing zero cash flow. To the extent that it can be returned and put back into inventory, then it can be sellable again. And so this does put a small suck on your cash flow if you have products that are returned frequently. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree, and I get if you sell on Amazon, you probably get random returns that are just ridiculous, and that's one thing that third-party sellers is definitely dinging Amazon on, is that they just take back whatever, and this is definitely a knock to us as third-party sellers that now customers have a 4-month return window. That's ridiculous. Like, that benefits Amazon, but it does not benefit third-party sellers. So obviously I'm not for that. It is what it is, and that's the other thing where they got, if Amazon has leverage, then they have you. So the next one that I saw in there was their advertising management console, or their ads console. So if you've noticed, David, over the last several months, Amazon has been slowly migrating and updating their advertising platform. And just this past week, I've noticed that when you click on advertising, it takes you to an entire new website, an entire new section. So they're probably in the middle of the migration now, the transition. And now I've noticed that Amazon posts are in there. Attribution, they're starting to import more of their functions into this new portal for advertising. So is it good or bad? I don't know. Jury's out on that one, but that's where you're going to have to go to access all your ads, campaigns, reporting, all that.
The next article is Amazon is going to start releasing live webinars through their Amazon Small Business Academy. And I really like this, and I'm probably going to be sitting in on some of these webinars. There are so many items in the terms of service where there's gray area. I'll give an example of like the hero image having including like a logo or a box, or there's just a lot of gray area. And I think going straight to the source and learning from Amazon, hey, what is expected through this Small Business Academy is going to be really helpful. I also think as they roll out new features, this is going to be a great place to learn. I'll use the example of like Amazon Posts. There was not, when that first rolled out, there were no podcasts to listen to about it until I think we were the first people to release a podcast on it. Very little information on YouTube, and it'll be nice when they roll out new things just to go straight to the source and learn about them. And so I'm looking forward to this. I do think this is going to put the squeeze on some people that earn an income from teaching courses on how to sell on Amazon. But I do think from a third-party seller standpoint, it's going to be better.
Yeah, definitely agree. And it can only help. They're trying, I would say. But also, you have to consider that any of the information that you get from these Amazon-driven webinars are going to be catered towards Amazon. They're not gonna teach you, tips and tactics to make more profit on Amazon. They're gonna say, hey, here's our new features. Go spend money and use them, or whatever.
All right, the next news article is from Bloomberg titled, Google plans to make YouTube a major shopping destination. Now, we've all heard of that kid that does toy reviews and makes millions of dollars on YouTube. And I think that is something that is done over and over and over again. In fact, when I'm looking for a product, I go to YouTube and see if people have posted any review videos. And so what YouTube is going to do is have people, when they upload a video, to start tagging products, and that's going to interface with Google Shopping with the goal of eventually being able to buy products off of YouTube. Now, Ken, what do you think about this?
Yeah, it's interesting to see. A lot of different companies are making this push. Google, they own YouTube. Google Shops, Google Shopping. They're making a huge effort in there now. YouTube, they're wanting to add more product tags and more meta descriptions into their video platform to get more revenue. And I think it's brilliant, and it's a great way to increase their revenue. And also, aside from that, on another angle, is if you can get the creators to start adding more product tags and meta descriptions and what's in their videos. You have the creators do that. YouTube doesn't have to do anything to do that, right? And then YouTube can sell more ads because they have these videos now that are tagged with these products. So then they advertise that on their ad platform and say, hey, if you want to try to sell this product, well, here's another video that's like it. You can advertise your product on there. So I think it's brilliant. And I've seen a lot of it, not only on YouTube, but I've seen it in Pinterest and Facebook. They're pushing out these notifications like, hey, update your shop. Hey, fill out your product catalog, upload it so we can, identify it more and we can advertise it. So I've personally been seeing a lot of push from, Facebook, Google, Pinterest, Instagram, all of the, they're wanting us, people that sell, physical products, to update our catalogs with the relevant metadata and the tags and product identification so they can advertise and they can expand more. And I think you'll see that push over, the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months as everybody tries to penetrate more into e-commerce.
The one thing that I hope doesn't come of this is YouTube loses some authenticity. And I'll give you an example. The other day, I was looking for a new table saw blade. And so I was looking at table saw blade reviews. And the videos that I watched, none of those people were selling table saw blades. They were just giving honest feedback on their experience with these various types of blades in different brands. And I think a lot of people go to YouTube to get that honest feedback from people that don't have any skin in the game, other than they want you to like their video. And so I think if people start selling on YouTube, there's going to be some built-in skepticism of, hey, is this video is titled Best Table Saw Blade of 2020. Is it because this person is just a big fan of this company? Or is this person a representative from the company that's trying to sell me this blade? And so I always am wondering if someone's being honest with me or if I'm just being advertised to. And my hope is that doesn't happen on YouTube, but we'll have to see how this plays out.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how it plays out. So we are at the end of the news episode, David. I wanted to thank the audience, and we have the downloads of any of the documents that we talked about on the website, on the podcast post, and also, go to the About Us page on our website and leave us a voice message, if you like the show and what else you want us to produce.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.